The 60s was a very eventful decade in the United States. With the introduction of things like disco, individuality, the fight for many rights including LGBTQ and women's rights. This era brought about many cultural advances and even some more qualities that are a little more extreme. During this time, there was a prominent killer named Charles Manson who played a role in the murder of Sharon Tate, who was a pregnant Hollywood actor. There are many factors that led up to the murder of Sharon Tate and 4 other of her companions. Things such as Manson's upbringing, mental health, music career, and much more. Manson was born in Cincinnati, Ohio on November 12, 1934. Growing up, Manson's parents were absent, which could maybe result in the series of crimes committed later on in his life. Due to Manson's homelessness, he lived in a neighborhood called the Haight where he spent time around hippies. He was often in trouble when attending school due to being a thief. During his young years, Manson always stayed in trouble, often attending boarding schools, juvenile detention, Quincy homes, jails, and even prisons. Some offenses included stealing Christmas toys at the age of 7, bicycles at the age of 12, cars at the age of 13, and committing spousal battery by the age of 20. According to the FBI vault files, while in prison, Manson had an escape attempt on April 10, 1957. In an interview with an associate warden, Manson stated that he ran due to the fact that his wife wasn't financially stable and she needed help. He also had previously stolen clothes from one of the prison employees' locker. When caught, Manson offered no resistance to his rearrest. Manson's criminal activities were not all committed by him. He had previously created a cult in which would do his biddings for him. He called this cult his family. Manson's followers were very loyal and would do anything for him as if they were undergoing some form of mind control. The cult members survived off of committing different crimes and also staying at the residence of the Beach Boys member, Dennis Wilson. Most of the cult were women who had problems, whether it was with their parents or homelessness. This may explain the mind control-like behavior seen in their actions. This can be due to the vulnerability of the girls with these different issues sprawling. Manson often misinterpreted a Beatles song called Helter Skelter, stating that the song included secret coded messages that he was the Messiah, the race war was coming, and an apocalypse was on the rise. Hippies and counterculture was a very prominent culture amongst young people during this time. Hippies rejected traditional society, which is doing things outside the ordinary, such as the clothing they wear and also the way they style their hair. Music during this time was at an all-time high with the introduction of rock and folk music. Music festivals like Woodstock were created where these hippies would come together to do drugs, have sex, and have fun while listening to their favorite songs. Manson and his cult would often adopt these hippie characteristics and potentially would form the way the story lines up. Manson was very involved with the Beach Boys and music. He wanted to create music, and he did, but was never given the chance. During this time, California was very prominent due to Hollywood and the rock/folk scene taking off. Some of his murder motives were the fact that his music career wasn't taking off. Also the rejection by Terry Melcher, who was a music producer, to have his songs recorded that summer. Built with this pent-up anger, Manson sent his members to Melcher's residence. On August 8, 1969, the Manson family members murdered an 8-month pregnant actor, Sharon Tate, and 4 of her companions, which led to uproar throughout California, which is a very infamous event when talking about the Manson family. During the trial, the members that were convicted were Charles Manson himself, Patricia Krenwinkel, Linda Kasabian, Susan Atkins, and Leslie Van Houten. This was a very difficult trial due to the fact that Manson's behavior was horrible. He would stage outbursts, interrupting and threatening judges, and even carved an X into his forehead. This trial lasted 7 months before Manson was guilty of the murders of Sharon Tate and her 4 constituents. In Manson's first interview after the murder, we saw truly who he was at this time. It allowed us to get a look from the inside on the events of these murders. The interviewer's questions sparked many different reactions and responses. These responses seemed strange, as if Manson was reliving the events of the murders. Manson provided insight on what happened during his younger years, recalling things like his criminal history and the different forms of arrest he went through. When asked about his remorse for the deaths he caused, he showed no regret. He also doesn't take accountability for his actions and didn't believe he was guilty. Throughout the interview, he talks about how he knows nothing about Helter Skelter and the killings of Sharon Tate. During this interview, Manson had a tendency of putting the blame onto someone else when referring to actions of his own. This questioning of Manson revealed the unstable mental state of Manson during his days in prison. All of the efforts to get out of prison were unsuccessful. While in jail, Manson died of a heart attack at the age of 83. Throughout his life, we can tell that Manson had some serious mental issues. From birth, his parents were absent, and he spent a lot of his time around people who had a tendency to do drugs. The hippie movement during this time also impacted the outcome due to his use of heavy drugs. He committed crimes to not only live but for satisfaction. According to his last psychological evaluation, he was diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder, paranoia, and being a narcissist. He had a tendency to have mood switches and desire for dominance. These mental disorders and the use of drugs allowed women within his cult to be so well behaved in following his orders. Due to the various successes of many artists and actors, Manson was filled with nothing but jealousy for people due to the rejection of his music. This resulted in the unfortunate loss of the soon-to-be mother, hard-working actor Sharon Tate.